Hi, it's Chris Croft here from successfultrainers.com, and I want to ask you a question. What is the best job in the world for maximising the number of holidays that you can go on? Maximising the number of weeks or days you can have off to just go on holiday. Now, to go on holiday, you really need two things. You need to have the time, but you also need to have the money to be able to afford to go somewhere decent. So what would be a job where we can earn decent money in a short time, and then we can have time off, and we can have the flexibility to be able to take time off whenever we like to go on holiday? And of course, I'm going to say it's training. But I want to show you that why that is really definitely correct. I'm just going to show you now some numbers to explain why I think training is the best job in the world if you like going on holiday. And after all, going on holiday is really, really important when you look back at your year that's passed. Don't you think that one of the most important things when you look back over that year is what trips have we been on? Where did we go? Did we get some good holidays in? Because at the end of your life, that's one of the big things you look back on, isn't it? All the trips you've been on. So let's have a look at this. So the typical training objective that I would help somebody to get to is 100 days a year at £1,000 a day. Now, these are just example numbers. I actually do more days than this of work and I get paid more than this per day. But the numbers vary. If you want to check out this number, by the way, if you think £1,000 a day is too much, then just ask your HR department or your training department how much they pay trainers and just see whether it's roughly that. Or phone up some training companies and get a price and you'll find that is roughly the going rate, £1,000 a day. So let's just use that for the moment. Now, suppose you do 100 days at £1,000 a day, then that's 100 grand you're going to earn. So that should fund a few holidays. But what about the time off? Because to do 100 days, you actually probably can only do them at a rate of about, let's say, 3 days a week, because you're going to need 2 other days for photocopying, packing notes, travel, and a bit of admin, and also some selling. Now, the selling reduces a lot after your first 2 or 3 years as a trainer because it's mostly repeat work. But nevertheless, there's a certain amount of selling and proposal writing. So let's say those 100 days, we do them at a rate of 3 days a week. So it'll take us 33 weeks to earn our 100k. But you've got 52 weeks a year, so 52 minus 33, you've got 19 weeks of holiday and you've got 100k to spend. So 19 weeks of holiday. Most people only get, they almost get 19 days, don't they? Most people get 20 to 25 or 28 days. We've got 19 weeks. So 19 times 5 is, I think, is 95 days. We've got at least 3 times as much holiday as your typical employed person, and we've probably got more money to spend when we're on holiday. So if you just imagine how you would use 19 weeks of holiday, what I normally do is I take all of August off. Now, fortunately, there's not much demand for training in August anyway, because most companies have got people on holiday during that time. So I take all of August off. I also take the second half of December and the first half of January. I take a month off. So I take 4 weeks in August, I take 4 weeks December, January. Might go skiing in January or might just be really lazy and have a whole month off. So that's 8 weeks. It's quite good to have 2 weeks off in the spring, the middle of the spring, and 2 weeks off in the autumn. So that's 8, 10. So that's 12 weeks so far out of our 19. We've still got another 7 weeks to use up. That's 35 days. So what I would do is when I'm not on holiday, I would probably take Fridays off as well. So we've got some great options. I think you'll agree that already this is looking like a really good option if you're somebody who likes your holidays. And this absolutely is real. So here are the holidays I've been on over the last 4 or 5 years. I'm just going to quickly put them up on the screen. Now, you don't have to go to the same places I've been. You don't even have to leave your country if you want to just go on holiday within the UK or America or wherever you are. But this gives you an idea of the type of thing. So I've really been doing this actually for the last 10 years. It's real, and you could do it too if you were a freelance trainer. Now, it might be that you don't do 100 days at £1,000 a day. It might be you're only charging £500 a day, which is too low. I mean, you really shouldn't be doing that. But suppose you did 100 days at £500, you've still got 50k, which is still pretty good earnings, and you can still have 19 weeks to go on holiday and spend your 50k. So that's an option. But the other option would be, if you were really, really into your holidays, you could do just 50 days at £1,000 a day. And imagine if you did that. So you'd have 50k to spend, but imagine how much holiday you'd have if you only did 50 days. Because 50 days of work, if we do it at a rate of, let's say, 3 days a week, it takes 17 weeks. And that would leave 35 weeks off. So 17 weeks of work, 35 weeks off. That's 35 weeks out of 52 weeks. You could be totally on holiday for the whole week. That's more than half the year. You know, you could live abroad for the whole of the winter, for example, if you wanted to do it like that. The options would be incredible, and you'd still be earning 50k, which by most people's standards is good income. So however you look at the numbers, they really stack up. And it's better than that because you can take a month off and it won't affect your business at all. As I've mentioned, for a start, you're probably going to take a month in August and a month around Christmas when there's not too much work anyway. That's not when you'll be wanting to do your 100 days. But the other thing is that suppose you took, let's say, April off. You took the whole month off to spend it in Venice or somewhere like that. All you do when somebody says, can we do a training course in April? You can say, well, I'm afraid I'm fully booked in April, but I could do it towards the end of March if you want, or I could do it in early May. And you'll find that by just moving the work before or after that time when you're away, you won't lose any business at all. So that holiday will not cost you any business. Customers don't mind exactly when they do training. Now, something like consultancy is much more difficult because you're doing a big block of work and you can't just take a month off halfway through that block. But with training, you can just book the dates in before and after. People don't mind exactly when a training course is. And also, they're booking quite a long way in advance. So we're probably having this conversation in January or December. So they're saying, should we do it about next April? And you will say, well, why don't we do it in March? Or why don't we do it in May? Because I haven't got any dates left in April. And it actually looks good if you're not available in April, because you're so busy, you're so fully booked already that you're in demand, you must be good. So I block out all my holidays a year ahead, and then people really want to get me for the few dates that I'm available. So it's actually a sales feature that I'm not always available. And customers don't know whether I'm on a holiday or whether I'm just booked doing training. And they don't really care, to be honest. They just know that they can't always book me. So we've got real flexibility, as well as the money to afford it, and all this time, we've got the flexibility of when we want to take it. You could spend 3 months in Australia if you wanted, and you could just book customers either side. And the worst that would happen is you'd lose a little bit of work in the middle of that time. But wouldn't it be great to be able to go to Australia for 2 or 3 months? Which I did do, by the way, about 10 years ago. So, for holidays, this is the best job in the world, there's no doubt about it. But what about Zoom? What about the move towards online training, virtual training? Well, the figures are very similar, really. I'm going to put them on the end here. If we just look at Zoom or Teams, if you're charging, let's say, £500 for an hour or maybe 90 minutes of Zoom, let's just call it 500 an hour. Again, these numbers are going to vary, but these numbers should be roughly right. And let's suppose you want to do 4 a week, because that will then be £2,000 a week, which will give you your 100k, which is what we need to fund these holidays we want to go on. So suppose you're doing 4 a week on average. That's going to be 4 times 50, which is 200 Zooms a year. And I think you could easily do those at a rate of 6 or even 8 a week. So if you were trying to maximize your holiday, imagine if you did these 200 Zooms at the rate of 8 a week. So you might do 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon for 4 days a week. And then you could do a little bit of admin and selling in between. You'd probably still be able to take Friday off, but you could do your admin on Friday. So if you're doing 200 at a rate of 8 a week, that is 25 weeks it will take you to do that. And as I mentioned before, they won't be at a steady rate of 4 a week, because there won't be so many in August and there won't be so many in December, January. They'll mostly be in the spring and the autumn. So 25 weeks of working, that gives you 25 weeks off. Not 25 days, like a lot of people get, but 25 weeks. You've got half the year off. You could take it in chunks, you could take it whenever you like. You could easily do a month in August, a month at Christmas, maybe even 2 months at Christmas. Why not go on a really long ski trip or something like that? Or a really epic long haul holiday for perhaps 2 months in August, 2 months at Christmas. That's still only 16 weeks and you've got 25 weeks to use up. And actually there's one other advantage of doing this by Zoom, which is you can do Zoom from wherever you are. So if you do go to Australia for 3 months, for example, or skiing, you can just come in from the beach or from the ski slope. You can do an hour of Zoom training for somebody anywhere in the world, and then you can go back out to the beach or go back out to the ski slope or your après ski session or whatever you're doing. So if you do want to take a really big block of time and there's 1 or 2 Zooms going on, you're not going to lose that work. You can do it from wherever you are. Or you could even live abroad for perhaps 3 months of the year during the cold, dark English winter or whatever you want to do. You could live abroad and you could just do your Zoom training from there. You can operate from anywhere if you're doing virtual training. So if you like your holidays, training is absolutely the best job in the world. I would really, really recommend it. And if you think you might like to be a freelance trainer, contact me at successfultrainers.com and we could talk. We could have a planning strategy session and I could talk you through the pros and cons of training and we could see whether it actually is a suitable career for you. Give me a call. I would love to talk to you.